So again, Ashden Saege, Commercial Manager from the Port of Newcastle, just talking through the clean energy initiatives that we're undertaking. So this is the map that I was just referring to before. Again, the largest area at the port, so these are the various precincts. The largest one is the energy precinct. At the moment, we have the existing coal trade, and it's the largest coal exporting port in the world. We're blessed. The region's blessed with having the high quality coal, but also the supply chain and the producers all collaborating together with common user infrastructure. We have one of the lowest cost supply chains in the world as well, and so we're looking at leveraging some of the key positives from that existing trade to leverage that into the new energy, being hydrogen, green ammonia. And obviously we've got a lot of key existing users at the port already. So we've got some of the highest energy users being gas users, our neighbours close by, high energy users. So we're already quite a large energy sink of energy in the region. So this is just looking at potentially some of the impacts of what a hydrogen project here at the Port of Newcastle could sort of do for the region. And so it's a scaling project, so over time we're looking at building up to over 5,800 job hours, job years, predominantly being initially in construction, wholesale, retail trade, but also professional technology and science services. But then, leveraging that into, hydrogen, gas, chemical jobs, distribution, obviously the utilities with electricity, gas, water, and waste, and a lot of the supporting industries around that as well. So, transport, distribution, regulation, safety. Obviously, we're looking at decarbonising various industries. So, fertiliser and agriculture being a key one initially, but also in the mobility space as well. And then obviously looking at clean energy exports later in the decade. One of the strengths of the region is the skilled workforce that we have here already. And we're working with industry partners, with the TAFE, the university, in terms of how do we grow this industry in line with the scale up of these hydrogen projects. And obviously these are highly energy intensive industries, hydrogen, and so it will support the build out of renewables. So I think high level 1 gigawatt will require around 3 gigawatts worth of renewable energy into the system. And being that variable load, we should be able to absorb a lot of that energy and hopefully create a more of a stable, lower energy price and volatility moving forward. I'm not sure if Tim touched on this. Apologies if he did, but just taking a very quick step backwards, just to go through what that hydrogen value chain is, and maybe even just quickly what hydrogen is, because there's a lot of hype at the moment around hydrogen. The various colours, you got black, grey, I think teal, pink, blue, even gold hydrogen now. The most common one is grey hydrogen, and that's where you use natural gas and steam reforming to produce it. And out of that you get a lot of emissions, and what you can do is you can capture that, you can try and capture that carbon, and that's where you get blue hydrogen, and that's obviously still being developed today. But the one that we're focusing on is green hydrogen, and so that's where you use renewable energy and water, and through a process of electrolysis, you then split that water into its two components, being hydrogen and oxygen. And so here you can sort of see the high level view of generating energy through renewables. You have that production facility with electrolysis, which creates the hydrogen. You can also capture that oxygen. There's going to be storage opportunities, whether that's compressed, liquefied, transporting that hydrogen, so pipelines. We're looking at tube trailers as well, depending on where your end offtake is. And then there's a conversion as well, whether you keep it as hydrogen, convert it to ammonia, you liquefy it, other derivatives, and then your end uses, which may be, here we've got export, but it could be fertiliser, transport, etc. That's a great question. To produce hydrogen initially, you need around 50 to 60 kilowatt hours just to produce 1 kilogram of hydrogen. To liquefy it, I don't know the exact energy requirements, but it's highly energy intensive, and so that's another key challenge. You're kind of dependent on the amount of available energy that you can access at the end of the day for that. Probably in some of the challenges that we're seeing with liquefied hydrogen, Kawasaki have got that vessel that they trialled initially with, it was a very small vessel, but they're large scale vessels. They're 350 metres long. The Port of Newcastle, I think the largest vessel that we've had is 311 metres long. It's just another scale. Again, another challenge in this, but the ammonia side, transporting hydrogen in ammonia form, that's an existing industry that we already do today. I should just add too that, with the current hydrogen industry, a lot of it where it's produced is also where it's used on site, and so we don't have those challenges of transporting it for long distances today. So moving to green hydrogen and new green end users, there's more sort of opportunity and challenges just to get through as those new end users arrive. So this is just looking at that future hydrogen demand, and this is something that Tim touched on before as well. Again, I don't want to go too much over to what Tim had said, but in full alignment, Japan, South Korea are obviously the two key main targets. That power generation of co-firing ammonia in power stations. I think JERA have announced that they're looking at 50% co-firing of green ammonia by 2030. And they're already releasing tenders for green ammonia towards the end of the decade, I think from 2027 onwards. But also vessel bunkering was another one that's, again, a longer term opportunity, but something that's going to be significant demand into the future. So when we talk to the Port of Jurong in Singapore, they see that vessel bunker demand for fuel being 5 times larger than the requirements for power generation. So this slide here is just, I'll probably touch on some of the key competitive advantages. And again, Tim's done a great job already promoting the region, but also what it could look like as well. So again, we've got the existing infrastructure, so the deep water port, the existing transmission lines, the electrical infrastructure, even the water is quite a key, competitive advantage of the region. It may not be a material cost in the production of hydrogen, but getting access to water, thanks to the existing, strong population and industry here, we've got a lot of access to, I guess, wastewater that can be treated. But even the existing industry that's here as well, that can be, that proximate demand, and also being proximate to the renewable energy zones as well. The other key advantage is obviously, the skilled workforce that we can leverage on moving forward. And so what the project, could potentially look like is, over 1.6 gigawatts worth of electrolysis capacity here at the port, but also facilitating bringing in hydrogen that's being produced off-site as well. having multiple different export trains, be it ammonia, compressed hydrogen, liquefied, MCH, even methanol, other derivatives, green manufactured goods. It's quite a significant sort of opportunities. And we've got the significant energy users, large gas users here already. It's the ideal place to, from a sequencing point of view, start it here, and you build out, the industry. You build out those pipelines. You decarbonise domestic, and then eventually you use that infrastructure to leverage that export opportunity later in the decade. This is just a quick slide on what we're currently working on at the moment, and so this is the partners shown here are the partners that we're currently working through an ARENA funded feasibility, and so we're looking at the production for phase 1 and the full scale of hydrogen and ammonia, and so we're looking at agriculture, fertiliser offtake. We're working with Keolis Downer and Lake Macquarie City Council and Horizon on mobility offtake with buses, trucks and locomotives. We're looking into the benefits what this might have with the energy market and that transition to more renewables. We're looking at pipelines with Gemini for gas blending, and also working with Snowy Hydro for their proposed peaker plant in Kurri Kurri. Looking at more gas blending, heating applications with InfraBuild, and then obviously the export and bunkering piece with Idemitsu, who are a big, obviously a big customer of the port, but they've been in the region here for a long time with their operations up in Muswellbrook. And we have had some success with some recent funding announcements, but we're very keen to sort of leverage all this and make sure that we do what's best for the region and maximise the region moving forward. So again, this slide's just looking at, just quickly, how am I doing for time? We're all 5 minutes, 2 to 5, 2 minutes. All right, I'll be quick. So this slide's just showing, leveraging that domestic infrastructure today, starting now, getting credible partnerships, building those expertise, and those off-take agreements, building those relationships with government now, kind of creates that knowledge and capability that we can then leverage into that export opportunity. And so what the port sees itself, and this is a little bit separate to the hydrogen project, but we want to create that open platform for hydrogen. And so we've been a key facilitator for the region for over 220 years. We want to be able to leverage what the existing supply chains are doing in providing a platform where people can build out their own capacity. They can utilise common user infrastructure, so be it electrical, storage, export infrastructure, and really maximise that opportunity and make it easy for people to get hydrogen and get it out the port. And just quickly, we are working with a lot of the wider industry here, and green hydrogen and ammonia. We need a lot of support, a wide range of support, and so we are looking at developing potential innovation hub, centre of excellence, working in line with the TAFE and universities as the industry scales up, and developing those international partnerships as well. And again, this is just a bit more on the vision, but there's obviously key advantages of being an early mover, and it makes sense. We've got, probably nationally, we're probably in the best place nationally in terms of electricity and water and existing infrastructure and workforce. We want to start with that domestic demand and scale, and work with the wider industry to develop what's best for the region.